Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Nosgazy, and today I will be presenting on this week's discussion post prompt, Explain how an insider threat differs from a spy or someone committing traditional espionage. While both insider threats and external spies pose serious threats to national security operations, the difference lies in their motive and allegiance. For this case study, I will talk through the subtle differences between a spy, a leaker, and an insider threat. I will then discuss the case study of insider threat Chelsea Manning. Lastly, I will identify some mitigation strategies that the U.S. government and IC have taken to limit the likelihood of insider threats going forward. Okay, so what is a spy, what is a leaker, and what is an insider threat? A spy is a person who commits espionage on behalf of an organization, most notably a national intelligence organization. I say most notably because corporate espionage also exists. A spy works their way into an organization to acquire otherwise classified information using intelligence tradecraft. Spies may rely on HUMINT collection, SIGINT operations, or GEOINT surveillance. What is a leaker? A leaker is someone who commits unauthorized release of classified information. The fact that classified information is released to the public by unauthorized means does not mean that this information is now declassified. The information is still considered to be classified and remains so until declassified by someone with the authority to do so. An insider threat. While there is no one definition for an insider threat, there are agreed upon aspects that remain consistent across different industries. An insider is any person with authorized access to U.S. government resources, including personnel, facilities, information, equipment, networks, or systems. An insider threat arises when a person with authorized access to U.S. government resources uses that access to harm the security of the United States. Malicious insiders can inflict incalculable damage. They enable the enemy to plant boots behind our lines and can compromise our nation's most important endeavors. Often, an insider threat will be approached and recruited to operate on behalf of another entity, or to fulfill some personal goal, often related to moral conflict. The simplest way to distinguish traditional espionage from insider threat is to think of it as outside-in versus inside-out strategies. For example, a federal organization can often detect or control when an outsider, non-employee, or spy tries to access confidential information either physically or electronically and can then mitigate the threat of an outsider stealing classified information. However, it is harder to detect an employee with legitimate access who has been previously vetted by the organization. A prime example of an insider threat who used their access to expose the intelligence capabilities of the U.S. military and, in effect, expose the security of thousands of U.S. troops and allies was Chelsea Manning. There's a lot to this story, so I will try to provide a brief overview with a focus on the actions that define Manning as an insider threat. At her first official duty station, Fort Drum in upstate New York, Manning helped to build a digital tool that would automatically track and sort significant activities, known as SIGACTs, from Afghanistan, where Manning's unit initially expected to be deployed. During this time, she became a regular at PICA, a MIT co-op, and visited Boston University's Builds, a hub for local hacking community. At the PICA gatherings, she found friends that approached coding the same way that she did, as an outlet, pastime, and most importantly, as a calling. Although Manning initially enlisted in the military to contribute to the greater good of national security, she grew increasingly disenfranchised by the violent acts committed by the U.S. troops in Iraq and Afghanistan and the limited public awareness of these acts. By the end of 2009, she had started logging on to the Internet Relay chat conversations devoted to the website WikiLeaks. Manning was experiencing a crisis in responsibilities at work, a crisis of identity as a trans person in the military, and had a limited support network to help her process the mental health issues that she was facing. These personal struggles added to her risk as an insider threat. Without channels to communicate her dilemmas with others, she sought external validation. Before Leaving her post for a 2-week leave in 2010, Manning downloaded from the government's Combined Information Data Network Exchange almost every SIGACS report from the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and burned a compressed version of the data onto CD disks. Once alone on leave, Manning transferred parts of the files to a small memory card and prepared an anonymous text file she wanted to accompany the information. It read, "This is possibly one of the more significant documents of our time, removing the fog and revealing the true nature of 21st century asymmetric warfare." She wrote, "Have a good day." On February 3, 2010, Manning signed onto her laptop and, using a secure file transfer protocol, sent the files to WikiLeaks. By May 2010, the leak had been traced to Manning. In 2013, Chelsea Manning was found not guilty of aiding the enemy, but was found guilty of other violations under the Espionage Act and was sentenced to 35 years in prison. As was helpfully explained by Delise Bernhard in our Tuesday night class, the case of Chelsea Manning led to the creation of Executive Order 13587. Ms. Bernhard explained how the Manning leak kicked off an evolution of insider threat prevention from cyber-focused to multilateral protections. Organizations need to do their part to deter the risk of insider threat or release of unauthorized information to allies, adversaries, and the general public. Some of the mitigation strategies that were inspired by the National Insider Threat Policy and are provided by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence include educating and regularly training employees on security or other protocols, ensuring that proprietary information is adequately, if not robustly, protected, using appropriate screening processes to select new employees, provide non-threatening, convenient ways for employees to report suspicions, routinely monitor computer networks for suspicious activities, and ensure security to include computer network security personnel have the tools that they need. I hope that this presentation has provided some clarification on the unique challenge that insider threats impose on the IC, and I look forward to reading your responses in the comments. Thank you.